Wow, everybody got quiet. All right. Hopefully this will work. All right. Okay, so after 15 minutes of things loading on the computer, I think we're ready to go. All right, hopefully you are here for Finance 330, is that correct? Am I in the right place? Because I'm going to be really mad if I spent 15 minutes getting this computer ready and I'm in the wrong place. So yes, Finance 330? All right. I am Dr. Steve Lacewell, and you are here in a really large Finance 330 class. Okay, there's about 75 people, or there were at one time, 75 people registered for this class. So apparently there's a lot of people who want to learn something about finance. And it's my job over the next 16 weeks to teach you something. Okay? Basically what you walk out of here with, some of it's up to me, a lot of it is up to you. And my teaching philosophy is I want you to walk out of any of my classes having learned something. Matter of fact, the way I measure how good a job I do in class is that if you walk out of here in 5 years from the day you walk out of here, so 5 years from May 2017, you remember one thing that I taught you in class. Just one thing. I have done a really, really good job. Now, you may think that's kind of stupid because one thing, that's not very much. But think about it. Some of you just finished classes in December. And if you think back to some of those classes, you may think, okay, what did I learn in that class? What is one thing that I learned in that class? And you might not be able to come up with one thing. So, and that was a month ago. So if 5 years from when you leave this class, you remember one thing that I taught you, I've done a great job, okay? Now, for test purposes, learn more than one thing, okay? But that's in class. I'm talking about 5 years after class. But for test purposes, please learn more than one thing. All right, what we're going to do today is we're going to go over, we'll take a look at the Canvas page that I've got set up. We'll take a look at the syllabus for the class. And you'll notice that hopefully the class is recording. I record all of my classes here. If you go to the course homepage for Canvas, you'll see Integrity Recordings right under General Course Information. All of the lectures are recorded as long as the microphone is working correctly. Now, have most of you had some experience with Integrity in class? Okay, I think probably most of you have. If you haven't, what this is simply a screen capture software. So whatever shows up on the computer screen, so whatever shows up here is what you would see in the recording. And so it's recording me talking. This is if you miss class. I'm also teaching an online section of this class, so I post this to their website so they can listen to the exact same lecture that you hear. The only difference is they're sitting at home, whereas you're sitting in a hot classroom. And believe me, I'm teaching this class a lot. It will get a lot hotter before winter is over with. Okay, so just dress appropriately or bring a fan or something with you. But you're going to hear everything I say in class. So if you didn't understand something, you can go back and listen to the recording again. And the great thing is you can fast forward through it, you can speed it up, you can slow it down. I talk with a southern accent. Some people like that. Some people think I talk too slow, so you can speed me up to 1.7 times my natural speaking speed, okay? Or you can slow it down if you want to. But again, it's just a really, really good software. So I'll do every one of the classes like this. Sometimes if I happen to miss a class, I will post a Integrity video for you to watch. So again, it's pretty good. This is what the Canvas page, I mean, this is nothing fancy, okay? You've got the syllabus here. Here you've got some chapter practice questions and solutions. So if you click on this, you will see for each chapter, now these are homework questions, okay? And let me say this, I do not take up the homework questions. This is just for your practice in terms of preparing for a test. I don't believe in busy work. I don't believe in just giving you something to do just to take up your time. So if I have problems listed here, rest assured, these are going to be really, really helpful problems in terms of preparing for a test. So you can see these, chapter 1, self-test problem 1, and then problems at the end of chapter 1, problems 1, 2, 3, and 5, chapter 2, chapter 3. So you kind of get the gist of it. And then you also have the solutions. So if you click on, for example, chapter 1, we need to change this. If you click on chapter 1, what you're going to see is the solutions manual. So this is the entire solutions manual for the textbook. Now, what you're going to have to do, a lot of times when students click here, at least initially, they start looking through here and they're like, wait a minute, I don't see any answers to the problems, okay? So you've got everything from answer to review questions on down. You're going to have to go way down towards the end of the document to get to the problem section, okay? So here's solutions to problems, and you would just pick out the ones that I assigned from the chapter. If you want to work other problems in the back of the chapter, that's fine, okay? The more you work, the better off you are. But again, this is here for your use. Okay, so a couple pretty important things. This is one thing that I do a lot is I work with students in terms of helping them get internships and jobs. So I'll be emailing you hopefully several items this semester in terms of when people contact me about internships or permanent jobs or part-time jobs. I will pass those on to you. You will see some of this information posted here. For example, this is, we had the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency come in last semester and talk to students. They had some information, so I posted it here. But in addition to being a finance professor, I'm also the director of Murray State Center for Banking and Finance. What that means is I work with a lot of banks all over the Southeast, Midwest. So if you are interested in a banking career, I would encourage you to come talk to me. We have a brand new major, okay? I say new, we've had it for a year now, but it's a finance major with a commercial bank management option, okay? You don't find that at many universities. As a matter of fact, the classes that we offer more banking classes here than any university within a 500-mile radius of Murray State. We offer a lot of really good banking classes. And so that prepares you to go to work if you want to in a bank, with a bank regulator, and we'll talk about that more later, or just general finance industry. If you're interested in a career in finance, let me encourage you to come talk to me. This class is one of our best recruiting tools for finance majors, because almost nobody enters college as a finance major because they don't understand it. They're like, finance, well, yeah, that's got to do with money. Is it like economics? Is it like accounting? Well, we're going to go through that over the next 16 weeks, okay? So if any of you're sitting through here and you're thinking, this is pretty cool. I like this subject. It's pretty interesting. I think I can make a good living doing this. Let me encourage you, come talk to me. Okay, we'll sit down and we'll talk about classes that you have to take. We have the program set up so if you are a junior, you can typically graduate on time, even if you switch from another business major to finance. Because that's just the way it is, because you can't take your first finance class until you're a junior. So we have to make it quick so that you can finish. And again, you'll hear more about that throughout the semester. Just some more information. We'll get to this later, time value money information, so financial calculators, and we'll discuss this in just a second on the syllabus. Financial literacy. We have a financial literacy student group on campus. So if you're interested in something like that, I would encourage you to talk to me. It's really simple. If you need something on your resume showing, yes, I was active in a group on campus, an educational group, this is something that I'm pretty passionate about in terms of teaching students, not just business students, okay? You're the lucky ones. It's the fine art students or the science students who never, whatever, they don't get any access to financial information. And so we give them a college degree, we kick them out into the world and say, okay, figure out how to buy a car, figure out how to buy a house, figure out how to make your student loan payments. How do you set up a budget? Okay, we just throw that on them. Well, with this, we try to teach them, and you too, something about, okay, how do I handle this? Because a lot of people learn it, but it takes you 20 or 25 years to learn it, okay? By that time, you've gotten yourself into a lot of trouble. So if I can keep you from doing that, that is a big help. And so again, we'll talk more about this later also. You'll see a section on PowerPoints. You'll see different chapters. So if you click on this, you're going to see two different links here. One is called the class PowerPoint. The other is the book PowerPoint. I would suggest printing these out if you have a chance. It's just going to save you a lot of writing. Now, if you're going to print these out, print the class PowerPoints, okay? This is what I've gone through, and I have taken what was in the book, and I've added a lot to it. I've subtracted a lot from it, and I've made these just for this particular class. So you'll see it pop up in a second. And so this is our chapter 1, and again, I just go through, and these are made just for this class. If you want to print these out, I would suggest doing that. If not, I mean, you can write it too, I guess, but it will just save you a lot of time and effort. So the class PowerPoints, and there will be one for each chapter. So chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. All right, so the PowerPoints, quizzes. We'll talk more about that in just a second. When you need to take a quiz, your quizzes will be given on Canvas. You'll have plenty of time to take the quiz, and you're going to actually have 5 quizzes. There's 4 here. You're going to have 5. The 4 highest quizzes count, so I'll drop your lowest quiz score. So those will be there. The quizzes aren't meant to be difficult, okay? So don't already start panicking about the quizzes. They're meant to be easy points, and they're meant to make material before the test gets here. So that's the entire purpose of the quizzes. So it should help your grade and not hurt your grade. Most of the time with the quizzes, you get 3 attempts at the quiz with your highest grade counting. So if you get to take it 3 times and only 10 questions or sometimes 5 questions on a quiz, you should have almost all hundreds on those quizzes. And then there are test items on your page. Again, you don't have to worry about that right now, but if there are practice questions associated with the test, study guides for tests, formula sheets for tests, that type of thing, you're going to find it here in this section. So it's all here. So again, just you will become more familiar with this, but I did want to point that out. Now, let's take just a second to go over the syllabus really quickly. And if you have questions as we're going through this, I'm going to run through this pretty quickly, but it's fine, okay? I encourage you, ask questions. It's not a problem. I'm never going to get mad at you for asking questions. I'm never going to embarrass you or make you feel bad for asking a question. That's why you're here, okay? All right, so this is the syllabus. Instead of printing this out, which I did for years, I just do this in class. If you want to print it out, it's on the Canvas page. Feel free to print it out. I'm trying to save a little bit of paper. Plus, most of you take the syllabus once I give it to you, and you leave class and you throw it away anyway. Okay, I've been doing this a long time. I know how you do, so that's just, it's right here, so you can see it. All right, so here is our syllabus. My name here, Dr. Steve Lacewell. My email address. Email is a really, really good way to contact me. I check it fairly often. We're in spring. My office is downstairs, 105D. In the financial services suite. So if you just go down to the first floor, right underneath us, in the room with the glass walls and the big blue television screen on the wall, that's where my office is. So you can stop by and see me anytime you want to. My office phone is listed here. Also, my office hours are listed here. Let's see, what should I call this? It's not a warning. It's just something to keep in mind. As I said, I work with a lot of banks. So what that means is a lot of times, even though it says I'm going to be in my office on Monday and Wednesdays from 12 to 2:30, sometimes banks want me to come provide training for them on a Monday at 11 o'clock, okay? So I won't be in my office. So if you are going to make a special trip to campus to come see me in my office during my office hours, let me suggest, please either call ahead or email me, and let's set up an appointment so I will be sure to be there during those office hours. Okay, I hate for you to make a trip. Now, if you're just on campus and you want to drop by and see me or talk to me about something, that's fine, okay? And often, knock on my door, because a lot of times I'm in there with my door closed doing some work. It's not a problem. It's just the financial services suite is a really nice place for students to hang out, which we encourage that. We want you to hang out there. There are computer terminals. There are nice, comfortable chairs. There's a student boardroom. The only issue is sometimes you have a lot of fun, which makes it a little bit loud, so that's why I closed my door. So it's nothing personal. I'm not trying to be unsociable. It's just knock on the door, because sometimes I'm in there and you may think I'm not in my office. But typically, this is when I'll be here. You found the classroom Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12:30 to 1:45. I plan on being here pretty much every class. If for some reason I can't make it here, I will let you know as soon as possible. Okay, I don't want you having to show up if I'm not going to be here. Okay, but since I'm going to be here, I would really like for you to be here also. It just makes for a more fun class if we're all here together. All right, what else? Principles of Finance, the course description, a comprehensive study of the field of finance covering institutions, financial markets, investments, financial theory, and techniques relating to financial decisions in business. Okay, what does all that mean? That means this is primarily a corporate finance class. But this is the introductory class, so we're going to cover the big three areas of finance: corporate finance, investments, and financial institutions. Also, we're going to talk about a lot of personal financial issues in here. So, how do you calculate a loan payment? How do you save for retirement? How do you save for your kids' college education? I mean, things that hopefully will be applied either now or pretty quickly in your personal life. So even though it's a corporate finance class, I try to make a lot of it very, very pertinent to you now, because a lot of you aren't working in the corporate world right now, but you may be soon, but you are having to figure out bank accounts, loan payments, and those types of things. So I want you to be able to use that information right now. The prereqs, accounting 200 and a junior. I'll let you take a look at the objectives yourself. Okay, the content outline. This is a rough estimate of what we're going to do in class. And I say rough estimate because I know you've probably had you've had classes where your instructor on the syllabus, they had test 1 was going to be on February something, and test 2 is going to be on this date or whatever. And I am really, really glad that they are so organized. That's a fantastic characteristic. The problem is, I'm not that organized. Or, let me put it another way. Every class is different. You're going to learn at a different speed than the class I had in here last fall. I've been doing this for 17 years now. I've had thousands of students go through my classes. And what I found is, it's not fair to you if I tell you we're going to have test 1 over the first 4 chapters on February 16th, or whatever date it might be, because you might not be ready for test 1 on February 16th. So it's not fair to you for me to say that's when we're having it. What we're going to do, we're going to cover the first 4 chapters at the speed we need to cover them, and then we're going to have a test. And I will give you typically at least 10 days to 2 weeks notice before we have a test. So that should be plenty of time to study, prepare, and all of that. And typically what I do is, for tests, I'll choose a couple of dates, potential test dates, and I'll let you vote on it as a class in terms of when do you want to have the test. And that way you can lobby other people around you if you've got other tests on one day and whatever. So we'll just let democracy work its magic in here. Once we do that, we'll cover chapter 5 and 8. We'll have a second test, and then we'll cover parts of other chapters. Don't look at all these and go, wow, there's a lot of chapters for the third test, which is the final exam, we're just going to cover parts of these chapters. And the way I do this is, I mean, we could cover every chapter in this book over 16 weeks. But again, I've done this enough to know that that's probably not the best way to teach this material. Some of this can be fairly complicated. And I would rather cover parts of 12 chapters and have you learn that material really well, rather than rush through a lot of chapters just to say I covered the entire book, and your head is spinning going, what the hell just happened over the last 16 weeks? Okay, I don't remember half of what he said. So again, 12 chapters, this is the important stuff, okay? So this is what you need to know. Now, notice that the final is not comprehensive unless you have missed one of the previous exams. If that's the case, then your final counts for 2 test grades. It covers all of the material during the semester. Let me encourage you, first, try to take the test on the date they're given. Okay, that's the best scenario. I'll give you plenty of notice. I'll just go and tell you, you need to study a lot for these tests and take the test. But if for some reason, if you're going to be out of town for some type of official reason, so some type of university activity or maybe a work activity or something, and you can't take the test when it's given, come see me before the test and let's figure out a date that you can take the test, because I do not want to see any of you have to take the comprehensive final. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard test. It's a big test. You're stressed enough during finals week. You don't need to take a comprehensive final in here that's going to count for 2 test grades. So again, I'm trying to keep any of you from doing that. So I'll try to work with you if at all possible to get your test worked out so that you don't have to take the comprehensive final. All right, instructional activities. This is primarily a lecture class. I encourage you to ask questions. I encourage you to join the lecture. Now, this is a big class. Sometimes students are a little bit intimidated when there is a large class, but I'll guarantee you, if you have a question about something, there's 10 people sitting around you that have the exact same question. So don't be afraid to ask questions. If there are topics, and that's one thing that I like about the not having test dates set in stone, is if something happens in the news and we want to devote half of the class to it, that's fine. That's not an issue whatsoever, because you can learn a lot of stuff outside of this textbook. As a matter of fact, this book, it's just a small part of what you learn, even though you need the book and I want you to read it. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening that I'm going to put in the slides or we'll talk about in class that is happening right now that you need to know about, that you need to be familiar with. All right, what else? The textbook. This is your textbook here, Principles of Managerial Finance, 14th edition. So it looks something like this. You should be able to find it online. Maybe some international editions. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm hoping it's getting a little bit cheaper. I don't switch textbooks very often. Typically, I switch textbooks when the bookstore calls me and says, you have to change textbooks, okay, which is about every 5 to 7 years. The reason is finance doesn't change that much, at least the core principles of finance. So I can use a book from 2012 just as easy as I can use the newest book that costs $300, okay? I remember what it's like to be a college student, believe it or not. I know that most of you don't have a lot of money, and so I try to keep the cost down as much as possible. So you should be able to find this. You just need the book. You do not need any access codes. You don't need anything else but the textbook. And if any of you find a good place that has some pretty cheap books, either to rent or to purchase, if you would, let me know, and I'll be sure to post it on the Canvas page so that other students can benefit from that also. One other thing that you're going to have after the first test, okay, you just need a calculator now, but you won't need a financial calculator until after the first test. You're going to need one of these. You can borrow it from one of your friends who've had the class. You might be able to find one used. You can buy these at Walmart for about 29 bucks. It's a Texas Instruments BA2 Plus. Okay, this is the basic calculator. That's what it looks like. You can do everything that you need to do in class on this calculator. This is the professional edition. Same calculator. Has a few more bells and whistles. It has the nice fake brushed chrome finish that some of you may find attractive and sporty, but you don't need this, okay? It's more expensive. You can get it if you want to, but you don't have to have this, okay? This $29 calculator will work. You can probably find it online cheaper. You don't need it for at least 4 weeks probably. But try to locate that, because starting with chapter 5, we're going to be using the financial calculator. For now, just bring any type of calculator to class. Most of you have your phones with you, and so that will suffice for now, except during tests, okay? Can't use your phone during tests. Also, if any of you have a TI 83 or 85 or 87 or 91, the big graphing calculators that you had to spend a lot of money on for a math class, that will work, okay? So it's got a finance function with it. A lot of students really like it because it's got the big screen. You can see all your variables on the screen in front of you, and it does a fantastic job. All of my examples in class are going to be done with this. I have a flash drive version of this. I put it in the computer, and it will show you a giant version of this calculator on the screen. So you can watch what buttons I'm pushing as we go through the different examples. But a lot of people use the big TI 86s, whatever, and typically if you go to a website like YouTube, believe it or not, YouTube has a lot of educational content. In addition to watching somebody ride their bicycle off a mountain, you can type in TI 86 finance, and there's going to be 50 videos on how to use your big TI for time value of money or capital budgeting or whatever. So if you've got that, you can do whatever. If you want to go ahead and buy this calculator, that's fine. If you've got the big graphing calculator and you're thinking, okay, maybe I can save 30 bucks, I'll start out trying with the other one, that's fine too. Because normally there's enough people in here that use the graphing calculators that you kind of form your own little users group, and each of you help each other figure out the problems. Because I can tell you, with this calculator, I can answer any question you have. With the TI 86 or whatever it is, I can answer some of your questions. Some of them I might not be able to answer. And then some people like to use maybe a Hewlett-Packard. HP makes some good financial calculators. But again, this is what I would suggest. It's the cheapest one you can buy that will do what we need to do. All right. All right, what else? Grades. Okay, this is kind of important to you, I guess. Grades are on the basic 90, 80, 70, 60 format. Your grades will come from 2 areas, 3 tests. So test 1, test 2, and the final. They count 28% each. And then you're going to have 5 quizzes. The highest 4 count. They're worth 4% each. So 4 times 4 is 16% for 100% of your grade. You may look at this and say, you know, wow, that's 28% on each test. That's a lot. Why don't we have some homework grades? Why don't we have some other grades that, that we can use? Well, I do this for a couple of reasons. The main reason is you're at least a junior. A lot of you are seniors. Some of you are going to be graduating in May. You need to be able to meet a deadline. You need to know what stress is, and you need to be able to handle that stress taking something like a test. So if the test is on a certain day, you've got to be on that day. That's just it. It's just like at work. If you're at work and you're supposed to make a huge presentation to a client, and you're just like, whoa, I overslept. Presentation. You're not going to be employed very long. So you need to know what that feels like. Now, this is not as stressful as keeping your job, but still, these tests are important. So I tell you in advance when the tests are. I give you study guides, practice questions. I encourage you to come by and see me. And when the test day rolls around, you need to be ready. Now, with that being said, sometimes life gets in the way of these fantastic plans. And so you planned on, and I would encourage you to start studying early for a test. But let's say you've been studying some, but you're going to cram all night the night before. But your roommate gets drunk, breaks her arm, you have to take them to the emergency room, and you're there all night. There goes your study plan. This has happened before, okay? This is an actual real life story. So your test grade is not as good as you would have liked it to be. Well, that happens sometimes, okay? That just happens. So what I tell students to do is shake that off. You're not seeing that material again. We're finished with it. Concentrate on the next test. Because, even if we have the best intentions, sometimes things just go wrong, and that's just part of it. So I don't look at your test grade and go, wow, that person must not be very smart. I just know, sometimes things happen, they get in the way, and you just need to try better for the next round. Audit credit, most of you probably won't need this, but if you do, there's information on auditing. Makeup policy, we talked about that already. Just please try to take the test when they're given. The attendance policy, I'm sure all of you have read and adhered to the MSU attendance policy. I don't even know where that thing is, okay? But anyway, I'm sure it says come to class as often as you can and try to be there on time. I'm paraphrasing, okay? But I'm sure that's probably what it says. I'm going to be here, like I said. I would like for you to be here. This class, I've noticed, even with the integrity videos, and some of you may think, oh, integrity videos, that means I don't have to come to class that often. Well, no, that's not what it means, because I have seen and I have evidence that the more you come to class, the better you do in this particular class. You have some classes where you can show up 3 times during the semester and make an A in the class. And that's fine. And there might be somebody in here that can do that. Typically, most semesters, I have somebody who tries that. I don't think I've had anybody successful yet at doing that. But it might be, I'm not saying you can't. You may be a genius, okay, and you can do that. But I'm going to be here. This is a nice, friendly class. I want you to come to class relaxed, laid back, ready to have some fun. And I know finance and fun doesn't seem to go together. But we're going to have a good time in here. I'm actually a fun person once I get through all these rules and regulations. So come to class 12:30, Tuesdays and Thursdays. We'll have a good time. Academic honesty. Basically, don't cheat. It's not worth it. You don't have to worry about writing papers in this class, luckily. But when you have a test or a quiz, do the best you can. If you do great, that's fine. If you mess it up, that's okay too. It's not worth cheating, not worth getting a 0 on something. It's just do the best you can. I'm honest with you. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt on quizzes and tests, and so just do the best you can. What else? They have a lot of information on cheating. All right. Non-discrimination. All right. This says that I will not discriminate against any of you, and I think you will find that really, really quickly. I treat everybody the same. If I do one thing, it is going to be to treat all of you fair. I'm not saying everything in this class is easy. I'm not saying this class is hard. But I will be fair when it comes to quizzes. I will be fair when it comes to tests. I will be fair when it comes to working with you or trying to help you out if at all possible. It's just what I do, okay? I love what I do. I like this job. I've been doing it a long time. We'll talk a little bit later in the semester about college professors, because I would encourage a lot of you to think about maybe one day becoming a college professor. Most people don't go to college, or even, when you're growing up, you don't think of, okay, what do I want to be when I grow up? A fireman, a cowboy, a princess, or a college professor? Well, no, that's not how it works, okay? But I'll explain some benefits and some drawbacks to the profession. You've got some other information here, assurance of learning, what else? Anything else important? What this says is basically this class is going to take some time. So just kind of prepare yourself for that in terms of homework, that type of thing. I put this, and I've had this on my syllabus for a lot of years. I mean to take it off every semester, but I leave it there when I see it. It says that I expect students to act in a professional manner. As I said, you're going to be working full-time in the business world. Some of you already are. So that means using appropriate language, appropriate actions, that type of thing. I've had this on the syllabus for a long time. I can tell you, I've been at Murray State for 17 years. I have never, ever had a single problem with a student at Murray State. Ever. And you know, some of you are thinking back maybe to your high school days, and you're thinking, wow, you know, or maybe in some of your college classes even. I hear stories from some professors and some students that, you know, what happens in some of their classes. And I'm like, are you serious? Because I've never had one problem with a student. You know what that says about you? The quality of the students at Murray State? It says a lot about you. And so I'm looking at you. You look like a lot of smart people, a lot of really nice people. So I don't expect that to change. But don't take this personally, okay? I'm not directing this at you. It's been part of my syllabus for a long time. So I leave it there. And finally, let's see. These are just some basic definitions or concepts of finance. So you may want to take a look at these when you get a chance. We'll be talking about a lot of these during the semester. All right, so that is the official part of the class. So now you can relax. You can smile. You go, wow, I'm glad that's over with. And I really hate doing it. I hate coming to class and the first thing I do is, okay, you have to do this, you can't do this, all of that. It doesn't really set the tone, but you kind of have to. Now, let me ask you now, before I say just a couple more things, are there any questions at this point about the syllabus? About tests, about grades, or attendance, or anything? You're just happy to be here, aren't you? You're just happy to be here. All right. Let me give you just a little bit of background information on me, and then I'll let you go, and you can be getting your textbook and all of that. As I said, I've been at Murray State for 17 years. I grew up not too far down the road in Northwest Tennessee in a really small town. So I grew up not knowing anything about finance. I didn't know finance professors. I didn't know bank president. I didn't know stockbrokers. I grew up in a small town doing what people do in small towns in West Tennessee and West Kentucky, which is basically trying to stay out of trouble. And I went to college at UTM, Tennessee Martin. I got a degree in economics. Please don't ask me why I majored in economics, okay? I think it was because I changed majors 3 times. I started out undeclared, as long as I could. Then I switched to political science because I was going to be an attorney, and that lasted for a semester. Then I switched to management, and I was going to be a manager, whatever the hell that means. So I was going to be a manager. And then I switched to economics because UTM didn't have a finance major, but they had an economics major with a finance option. So I could take some finance classes. So I was taking economics classes and finance classes. I didn't know what I could do with them, but I just knew I was pretty good at it. So got an economics degree. Couldn't find a job. Left UTM and came to Murray State and got my MBA from Murray State. Now this was way back in the 1990s, okay? Ancient history to most of you. Long time ago. Got my degree from my MBA from Murray State. That's when I taught my first class, actually. My first class, kind of ironic, that I ever taught, I was 23 years old. It was in this classroom. It was an Economics 100 class. That was the econ class. I don't think they offer that anymore. But it was an econ class that non-business majors took. So if you were an education major and you wanted the econ class, that's what you took. So the dean at the time said, hey, do you want to teach a class? I'm like, stupidly, sure, I'll teach a class, no problem. So I walked into this class. All of this wasn't here. Now, computers were invented, okay? Don't think that. But this just wasn't up here. But there was just a podium here. So I walked into this class not knowing anything about it. And there were 100 people in this class staring at me. 200 eyeballs. I'm assuming most of them had 2 eyes, but 200 eyeballs. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I grabbed onto that podium. I had syllabi in my hand. I put them down because I didn't want them to see me shaking. And I held onto that thing for dear life that first class. And I made it through that. I made it through the semester somehow. And I thought, you know what? This isn't bad. It's kind of fun. But I left here. I went to work. My first job was with the United States Treasury Department. I worked for a branch of that called the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. They deal with nationally chartered banks. So I started out in Atlanta. I was then transferred to Memphis. I worked there for a while. I then switched and went into the banking field. So went up to Central Illinois. I ran a bank. I was 26 years old, 27 years old, running a small bank. I mean, talking about not knowing what I was doing. Man, I was just, that was interesting. But I knew something about banking, and the bank was in trouble, and they wanted it cleaned up, which means they had a lot of bad loans, and I had to go out and repossess a lot of stuff. And so I did that for a while. I then moved from there back home to my hometown, and I thought, man, I am set for life. I've got a job at a bank. I make pretty good money. I'm going to be here forever. Well, at that time, the bank was being bought out. I'd been teaching some night classes at UTM and at Murray State. And I thought, I wonder what you have to do this full time. I still didn't know. I had a master's degree, so I didn't know what to do. So I kind of looked into it and decided, you know what, you only live once. I might be able to do it, I might not. But I sold everything, quit my job, moved to Starkville, Mississippi, enrolled at Mississippi State University, and walked out of there 2.5 years later with a PhD in finance, another master's degree. And when I left, I thought, you know what? I've been at Murray. I've taught classes at Murray. I've taught classes at UTM. I've taught classes at other universities where I've been working at night. But I want to look around. Murray had an opening. I could come back to Murray. But I owe it to myself to look around. So I interviewed at some really good schools. I had job offers for some really good schools. One of my favorites was Pepperdine University. Pepperdine University is in Malibu, California. If you've ever been to Malibu, Malibu is really, really nice. The university is on a hillside. You can look it up on your phone. It's on a hillside overlooking the Pacific Ocean. So just like you would be looking at 16th Street if you could see through the walls, those students have windows and they're looking at the Pacific Ocean and the Pacific Coast Highway in class. That was a fantastic opportunity. It's just the position they wanted at the time involved not really working with a group of other professors. And when you're a new professor, you have to do a lot of research and you need the support of other professors. And it just wasn't a good fit. It was tempting, but it wasn't a good fit. So I turned it down. Interviewed at Samford University in Birmingham. Again, a good university, but I ended up coming back here. And I did that for a couple of reasons. One is the things that I do for fun, you can do in Western Kentucky. I do a lot of outdoor stuff, okay? I know you may think your professors, all they do is sit in their office and write papers and whatever. We're actually real people, okay? We do real stuff. So I hunt a lot, I fish a lot, I ride a motorcycle, ride ATVs, go camping, go hiking. I do a lot of outdoor activity. You can do that in Western Kentucky, okay? Also, I have a background similar to what a lot of you might have experienced. Maybe you grew up in an area, you didn't know a lot about finance or business. You've got an interest in it. Come talk to me about it, okay? I've been there. I know what it's like. And so that's why I try to help students so much when it comes to jobs and internship, is because I wish there had been somebody there to help me with those things. And as I kind of went through my career, I did a lot of stuff right, but I did a lot of stuff wrong too. And so I'm trying to keep you from doing those wrong things, which is just going to speed up your career a little bit. Okay? So, been here for a while. It's, as I said, I specialize in banking classes primarily, but if any of you, I do teach this class because I like it. I enjoy working with students for the first time when they're learning finance. And believe it or not, a lot of you say, hey, I want to change my major to finance. I'm hoping there'll be at least 10 of you in my office this semester going, hey, tell me more about finance. What do I need to do? What kind of careers are there? What kind of money can I make? That kind of thing. What else? Let's see. As I mentioned earlier, when you come in here, we're here to have a good time. I mean, I'm serious about that. We're here to have a good time. I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm not going to call on you. I ask for participation. Take that back. I ask for participation. If nobody wants to participate, then I might call on you, okay? But I'm going to be reasonably assured that you know the answer before I call on you because I don't want to embarrass anybody. But again, we're here to have a good time. Are there any questions about the class in general that I can answer before I let you go and let you move on with your Tuesday afternoon? All right. If not, you've got the syllabus. You can jump on the Canvas page and look around. Beginning your textbook. I will see everybody on Thursday at 12:30.